We're going to write an equation for a loan. It starts with U0 equals, and we're going to take a loan out to buy a car. And I'm going to use a car that you can't use. Not the type of car, but the amount. There is nobody in here who's going to have a car that's exactly $50,000. You know why? Because when you go look up your car, you're going to have to screenshot it, and you're not going to find a car that is exactly $50,000. The way they price them is like $49,999, or they might price them at $50,030 or something. It's never exactly this. So my point is, see, if I do this example for you with $50,000, and then you just copy all the numbers and say, well, I just picked a car that was $50,000. Now you got all the right answers because I already did it for you. Okay, so you can't use $50,000 exactly. But you're going to have to take a screenshot of the car you pick anyways, and it wouldn't be $50,000. What always comes next in your equation? I'll give you a hint, starts with use of n. Everybody write that out. We're not putting it in the calculator yet. Focus on writing the equation. Like I said, more of the mistakes are made in the writing of the equation than in the actual calculating it. U sub n equals U sub n minus 1. Now I'm fine with that's a subscript, or if you want to make it full size, you can put it in parentheses. And then what comes next? Well, I would have to tell you some stuff, like the interest rate. I'm going to tell you for this project, I looked it up, I did my research, and the average car loan is at about 7%. So we're going to use 7%. And it's going to be monthly, because almost all car payments ever are monthly payments. Now you should be able to finish this off if you knew it was 7% monthly, except for one thing. I haven't told you what the payments are going to be. Now, what most people do is the bank will tell you, okay, your car payments are going to be this much. You ask the bank and they're like, here's how much you have to pay. And then most people just pay exactly that. We're not going to do that for this project. We're going to say that you are going to take 15% of your monthly income, whatever your monthly income is, and you're going to pay that for your payment. Because as long as that's high enough, which, here's how you can tell if it's high enough. If you don't make a big enough payment on your $50,000 car, if you're like, well, I'm only going to pay $200 a month, you will quickly realize that your car payment isn't enough because your loan balance isn't going down. You see what I mean? So you're going to be making 15% of your income payments. For most kids, that's like over $1,000 a month. And again, our adults might argue, well, you don't normally pay more than your payments. No, you don't normally pay more than your payments. But if you do, it's smart because you get your loan paid off faster. Okay? So you're not making a payment that's based on 5 years or 7 years. You're making 15% of your income. That's another reason why your project needs to be different than everybody else's, because your income's probably going to be different. I hope that I don't see a single person. In fact, if I do see people that have the same exact number for their income, that's going to be a problem. You need to have your own numbers, your own income, and your own car that you're buying, because otherwise it'd be too easy to copy somebody else. All right, so this, again, is 15% of your monthly income. And it'll probably be enough to pay for this car. How would it be not enough? You can tell because your balance on the loan on the table would just go up and up and up. For instance, if a librarian decides to buy a Lamborghini and she takes 15% of her monthly income, it won't be enough to even make the minimum payments. So that means your loan amount will go up every month. So if you do that, you're going to lose a whole bunch of points in this project. So be realistic on your car. All right, last thought. Don't you need one more thing? This is not a complete answer. Would you please talk to the kid next to you about what else do you have to put to make your equation? Yeah, I was looking for the domain, and that's n is greater than or equal to 1. That's pretty much your equation. You just can't use 50,000, and I didn't finish this part because you're supposed to know how to do that. The kid next to you can help you with that. All right, so now, would you please put that in the calculator and go to the table, and somewhere like U23 or something, there'll be this spot where it's almost paid off and then paid off. And I'm not saying it's U23 and U24, but it's something like that. If you find it first, maybe you can give your partner the hint where it is so that you guys can then write down, and I want to know what's the total you paid for this car, and it wasn't $50,000. It was a lot more than $50,000. You're supposed to be able to calculate that by now. I'm pausing while you try that. So last hour, we decided that in the real world, most of these calculations are done to the dollar. Like nobody sends a car payment that's $104.03. So we're gonna round this to the nearest dollar. So would you tell me what what was it? Not U23. Was U59 or 49 or what was it? All right, 59. And how much was left at U59?
286.
All right, and then at
87 rounded.
oh, rounded to 87. Okay. And how about U60?
700 negative 712.
All right. Is that rounded correctly also? Excellent. So now you have enough info here to know that it took exactly 60 months to pay this thing off. Okay? And that means you can tell how much money you paid. And then they owe you this money back now too. Figure out that grand total that you paid, including how much they owe you back. So that you have a grand total after they've paid you back. And it was 60 times, how much do we make in per payments? 1,000. So that's 60,000. And then you take away the 712, and now you're down to 59,000. 288.
Yeah.
Double checking. Yep, that's correct. Okay, awesome. Now, is that the interest amount? No, that is not the interest amount. What is that? Total you paid. All right. Now, I thought we were buying a $50,000 car. Why did it cost $59,000? Because of interest. So it's pretty easy to tell the interest. You just have to subtract those two. All right. You have any questions about how to figure out the total you paid for this loan? All right. And then, here's what the project does. That's the first half of the project, is you tell it a job that you're going to do, you research them, and you take pictures of the proof, just screenshot it, and you have to put that in your project. Prove to me that sometimes kids are like, a nurse makes $108,000 a year. I'm like, no, nurse, okay, some types of nurses that are specialty trained, maybe. So I want proof. If you make up a number and you're like, I'm an engineer and they make 60,000, you just made that number up. I want you to research it, and I want you to screenshot it to prove it. And I want it to be in Minnesota, and I want you to use average, not like what's the highest paid engineer in the world. This is you starting out, okay? And if they give you a range, like 50 to 60, go on the low end of the range because you're starting out. They don't give the new guy the top paycheck. The new guy gets the low paycheck, and they have to work up to it, okay? So if they give you a range, pick the lower end of the range. All right. So next on the project, you've bought a car, you figured out how much you paid for it, you figured out how much interest you paid. Now you have a choice. What if you had saved for it instead? That's this part of the project right here. Option B. Go to option B if you would, please, right now. Download the project and find where I am in the project. Because there's two numbers you all have to use the same. One is the car interest rate is 7%. Because I don't want you making up a fake interest rate, like my interest rate was 2%, so I could afford this car. Nope, you don't get to pay 2%. Because that's sometimes they make these cool fake interest rates to suck you in. We're going to go with an average real interest rate, which about 7% is about right. But option B is about earning money. So this is not you taking a loan, this is you saving up. You're saving up for the car. Do you get, if you want to, you could save up for the car and eventually have enough money saved? How much were we saving again? We were putting $1,000 a month as our payment on the last car, right? Couldn't you, instead of just putting $1,000 a month into the bank until you had enough money in there? Now, here's the crazy part. People think, well, then I have to wait 50 months because it's, you know, 1,000 a month. But you don't because you earn interest. And so you might be able to get that car a lot faster if you get a loan because you just can buy it immediately. But you're also going to pay a lot more because of interest. And we're going to make you look over that difference there. Now, a car, in most cases, I would argue a car, you usually can't wait 5 years for your car. You know what I mean? You decide, I'm going to get a car. You're probably not going to wait 5 years. But for something like a little condo in Florida that you want to someday retire to because you don't like cold weather and you want to live in Florida someday, you can buy a condo in Florida, but you could save up for the condo. You don't have to buy the condo today. You could save up for that one. So there's some things that are easier to, more logical to save up for. And you'll save yourself a lot of money on interest if you save up for that condo in Florida. All right. So first question I get is, well, I like option A, so do I have to do option B in the project? Yes, the whole point is to compare saving up for the car with an investment of 15% of your monthly income and taking out the loan and paying the 7% interest. Okay, so here you're going to put your money in the bank. They're going to pay you 8%. All right, so do you see here that it says write a recursive formula? That's right in here is where you'd go U0 equals. But if you're investing, do you have the 50,000 up front? No, you have 0. See how I start mine? And then UN equals UN minus 1. And then it's always 1 and it's always plus. Whether you're investing or right after the 1, there's always a plus, whether it's an investment or a loan. And then this time I told you it's 8%. You got to use 8% for your stock investments. I don't want you to, some people will be like, but I'm going to get 12%. Well, if you invest really aggressively, you might lose a bunch of money right before you try to buy your car. We're trying to be a conservative investment. So we're going to say it's 8% growth on your stocks. Then divide by 12 again, because this is monthly. I'm doing the whole project for you. I don't want to do that. So I've started it, but an investment is different than a loan, of course. Now, the whole point, if you walk up and ask me, well, what do I do here? I'm not doing the project for you, okay? You can ask me questions, but I'm not going to check your work and be like, Mr. Server, did I do this right? No, that's what I do at the end. This is a test. I don't grade your test in the middle of the test and say, oh, you did this wrong, you better fix it. I grade it at the end. Okay, so I will not just check your answer. Now, you can ask me questions like, for one kid, this part got him last hour. And he said, what is this? How much did you contribute? And I will tell you what that means is, how much money did you put into the account? Contribute means you put it in. I can define words like that for you, but I'm not going to check your work on the project until you're done and I'm grading it, okay? You can ask kids next to you, and they might be a better resource because they don't have that obligation. I can't tell you the answers, but you can ask kids for their opinion because it's just a kid's opinion. It's not the teacher grading the project. So ask kids nearby for help. I will answer questions, but I won't tell you, am I doing it right? And I won't tell you, what number to put here. Okay? That's your job. All right. So on the loans, we figured out how much interest you earned. Sorry, how much interest you paid on a loan. Here, it's how much interest did you earn. So you're going to have to figure out, I only put in this much, but I've got more than that. And you'll be able to figure out how much interest you earned. Yes?
Can you do use of 1 in the start payment?
Nope.
No?
You don't do use of 1, and here's why. Because it's a real world problem. U1 needs to be after 1 month.
Yeah, but like instead of the 0, can you do like the first, I don't know,
If you're asking about this number right here,
Yeah.
in both the loan and the investment, that should be a 0 because it's a real world problem. The only alternative would be if we picked a year, like I did this in the year 2028, then you could use U sub 2028, but I don't think you should do that. I think you should use U sub 0. All right, so Final reflection, and this is what makes this more of just, it's not just a worksheet. This is the thing that makes it more than just a worksheet. It's a worksheet, kind of, where you get to pick a lot of the inputs, like what job did you pick, how much money did you make, what car did you pick, and you take screenshots to prove what you did. But this part is where it's more of a project. When it says Google Slides, all you need is like 4, maybe 5 slides at the most. And should you put in some pictures? Yeah, if you want a really good result in a project, you probably want to make it look okay. Like maybe a picture of your car could go in the slides there. Maybe a picture of a nurse if you decided to be a nurse. You could have a picture of that, but have something more than just words on your Google Slides. And then there's a bunch of questions to answer in here. So, big picture. By the end of the hour today, most kids were done with all of the thing about the loan and investment. I mean, you can, if you really understand these, you could do it in 20 minutes, okay? And you're gonna have way more than that. So it's really not that hard. In fact, I'm gonna show you, we're gonna go back to the first page and have, unfortunately, but the way this program works is if I go back a page, it'll jumble the recording up, so I don't wanna do that. So can you tell me the first thing you have to fill in on the first page? Mr. Breen, what's the first blank that they have on the first page of the project?
What your job is.
What your job is. Okay, so I'm going to pick nurse. And I don't want to eliminate nurse from the options because it is a pretty good real-world job, and AI isn't going to take it over tomorrow, and robots aren't going to take it over the next day. It's going to be a while before the robots are the nurses. It's coming, but you'll be able to be a nurse for a while and still have a job. There's a lot of other jobs, they're going away super fast. Like literally this week, this company announced that they are letting go 3,000 people because they can do the jobs with AI. So there's going to be jobs you don't want to try for because the computers are going to do them better than you. But I think nurse is a pretty good one that's going to be around for a long time because people don't want a robot, touching them. They want a human being that's helping them in their old age or whatever. Eventually, the robots will be there. All right, so I'm going to pick nurse. You can pick nurse if you want to. You can pick any job, whatever it is, and then I'm going to look up the salary. What's the next thing that they ask you, Mr. Bean?
Annual salary.
Annual salary. So again, that means per year. So let's say you looked it up. It will not be $60,000. If it is, they're just making up numbers. It should be an actual average. Now you can round it to the nearest dollar, but you're looking for the average nurse salary, and it's not going to be exactly $60,000. Okay. All right, so next thing, you take a screenshot of that so that you can prove that that's actually an accurate number for your job. All right, what's the next thing to ask?
Monthly salary.
Monthly. Wouldn't you just take this and divide it by 12? Yep. So then the monthly salary would be $5,000. Again, you can't use my numbers because otherwise you'd have all the right answers. Your numbers might be close to that, but then your answer will have to be close to that. All right, next they ask you for 15% of this monthly salary, and I want to explain that. Do you get if you make $5,000 a month, you don't actually have $5,000 a month to spend on a car? You have a lot of other things. So the financial experts have said that the most you can realistically spend on a car is about 15% of your salary. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You have to figure out how to do 15% of this. This is a math class. You figure that out. And you could ask the kid next to you, what did you do? That's fine. But I'm not going to tell you how to find 15% of 5,000. That's your job. Okay. Now, let's imagine that that was 1,000. It's not, but let's imagine it was. Then that's how much you're going to pay for your loan payments, and that's how much you're going to pay for your investing payments. You invest that until you've got enough to buy the car. So you'll use the same number for the payment, whether you're doing the loan part or the investment part. So this number is really important. So make sure you didn't screw it up. Okay? And then, what's the next thing they ask you on the project?
Well, before that, ask for your car. What car.
Oh, okay. They actually should have put that together later because once you've got this, now you can start thinking about what kind of car could I get for $1,000 a month. Now, do you have to time it perfectly? No. A lot of times your payments would have been like $550 or $700, but you're going to pay $1,000. and that's okay. You're going to end up paying it off early. Okay? So, what car do you want? You get to totally pick that. Tesla Model Y, the most commonly sold car in America right now, so I'm just picking that one. And if you have a Tesla Model Y, you don't, so many kids ask me this, but it says the payments are $994. Don't use what they tell you the payments are. You use what you can afford, which is your 15%. So I don't care what it tells you the payments on the car are. Irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You're going to pay this much. Then the question is, how do I decide if that's too expensive? It's really simple. If you use the right formula and you stick in the $1,000 payment on the car, if your balance on the loan is going down, then you can afford it. That's the way we're going to make that decision. As long as your balance on the loan is going down, it's fine. But if you're a librarian who has a max they can spend of like $350 per month, and you do that for like a Lamborghini, what happens is your loan balance just goes up every month. And our loans are supposed to go down, right? So you then in that case, if the loan balance is going up, then you are going to have to do the project over again because that's not going to work. Okay, that's as much as I want to tell you. Now the rest of the time is yours. Watch out, because the most common mistakes, like I said before, were kids who were trying to write their formulas and they were forgetting the domain, or they were starting with the wrong amount in the first place. A loan versus an investment starts with different things. If it's an investment, you have no money to start with. You're just starting out. You just graduated from college in this imaginary scenario. If it's a loan, you're borrowing all the money for the car. If it's a $60,000 car, you're borrowing all $60,000. If it's an investment, you start with nothing. So again, don't forget the U sub n, U sub n minus 1. All that stuff has to be in your formula or you're not doing the formula right. All right, so that's all my advice for doing the project. I was intentionally vague. I didn't want to do the whole project for you. Same thing if you walk up and ask me questions. I will try to help you a little bit. I will give you a hint, but I will not check your work, and I will not, be able to tell you, oh, write this number here, because it's a project. All right? All right, so in class today, you should be able to have your job picked, your car picked. You should be able to do the investment part and the loan part. Then the only thing left for tomorrow in class is you'll be able to do those slides to answer the questions at the end. All right, and that should get you all done without any work tonight at home, or even tomorrow night at home. If you do this efficiently, you'll be done with just the work time I give you today and tomorrow in class. And that's all I got for you for today.